I don't want this diet Coke. I'm 12 years old and I want a full fat Coke. Like, what would you technically call pregnancy? That's just not like body horror. Freaky relationship between two women. Like, I'm gonna eat that up every single time. I'm gonna eat it up every single time. What the frick is up? I wanted to share a few of my favorites with you. I was gonna name this recent favorites, and then I realized that the last time I shared I haven't shared my favorites for the entire year, but something feels spiritually quite corporate and evil about naming this my Q1, Q2 favorites, even though this is Q1, Q2. Let's address the elephant in the room. My face is in fact swollen. I come to you filming a favorites video 3 months later, fresh off of another jaw surgery. I explained the conundrum that I was in my What's in My Bag video, but there was a complication with my wisdom teeth surgery and I had to get this done. I didn't realize that it would kind of be like round two where I would have swelling and pain and just have to do the entire thing again. And I told myself, like, had I known or had it crossed my mind, I would have like pre-filmed and just like been diligent and proactive in already having content so I'm not filming while I'm recovering. But even if that crossed my mind, I probably wouldn't have done that. So what are the odds of me filming like my mouth is like, yo. Also, one of my doctors literally fainted in the middle of my surgery. We literally all heard him say, he was like, I need a minute. And the next thing we heard was a boom, like a crash. And then his body, along with all of like the tools, came down. And yeah, my face is quite swollen. And I tried to put on makeup and I'm trying to like conceal it with my hair. But I think it's just swollen and it is what it is. And we're just gonna have to get over it. And by we, I mean me. Now, my favorites list is not that plentiful. It's just not. Some films that I did watch, I watched Hot Milk, didn't really enjoy it. I thought it had a good formula, like the cast was good, the dialogue was good, and it has this like the seaside views. It feels like very breezy. The entire thing felt so slow and quite empty. Saw The Housemaid, which was really great and entertaining. Pilion, which was great. It was good. I kind of wished there was more, but I feel like the film was definitely developed and made for a wider entrance. I saw Frankenstein, that was good. I saw Hokum, I did not enjoy that at all. I saw The Substance. God, I watched it while I was taking out my braids, and that's definitely a film that was made to be seen in theaters, and thank God I did not. Oh my God. Like I would have been so overstimulated. Like, absolutely not. The Virgin Suicides was great. I saw Burning. Conflicted feelings. Resurrection by Be Gone, masterpiece, very compelling. Felt like I was doing some damn homework in that theater. Like, feels good to be challenged by a body of work. So let's start off with movies. My first movie is Maria Full of Grace. I watched this a few weeks ago. It is available on HBO Max. The film follows Maria Alvarez, who is a 17-year-old girl living in rural Colombia. She works at a flower plantation where workers spend long hours de-thorning roses and kind of preparing them for export. She finds out that she's pregnant by her boyfriend Juan, who just kind of assumes that she's going to marry her and continue living within the same cycle of economic dependence that both her family and his family are a part of. She decides to quit her job, and while she's traveling to Bogota for work, she meets this guy named Franklin. Franklin introduces her to someone who recruits women to act as drug couriers. She is really feeling the financial burden because she supports her family. She has an older sister who has a young son, so she has a nephew to take care of, as well as her mother. She's desperate for money, and she's really attracted to the possibility of financial independence. The job pays good if everything goes well. So she agrees to swallow, I think like 40 or 50 of these like little latex wrapped cocaine pellets, and she takes a flight to New York. Her friend joins her as well. The journey becomes like really precarious. One of the young women who is on the job, the packet ruptures inside of her. Maria, along with her friend, decides to kind of remove herself from the equation and escape that situation, and has a place to stay thanks to the help of one of her friend's relatives in Queens. So I think obviously the central horror of the film isn't necessarily the violence or the explicit nature of what this young teenage girl has to do, but it's the transformation of the body and how it turns into a container for commerce. If you've seen Euphoria, particularly season 3, then you're familiar with the fact that in order to pay off her debt, Rue does become a mule. Now, I could be wrong on this, but the pellets that Mule was swallowing had fentanyl in them, right? Like they weren't coke, they were fentanyl, which is crazy. That lady had no regard for her health. Oh my God. Love you though, Rube. I love you. What's particularly sinister is that when not only Maria, but whoever is engaging in this act, once you swallow these drug pellets, your body is no longer your own. Not even once you agree to this transaction, your body is no longer your own. You literally become a vessel. In the movie, Maria has to regulate her eating, her sleeping, movement, even withhold very normal like bowel functions according to the demand of the cargo that she's carrying. Also, with her being pregnant, she's carrying a fetus, and I feel like carrying first girl, she's carrying both a fetus and cocaine pellets inside her body, and I feel like the film definitely contrasts these forms of carrying, right? Like women's bodies are really expected to absorb the costs of different kinds of survival, whether it's familial, whether it's economic. I really enjoyed this movie. It reminded me of the fact that my dad like one day dropped like really crazy random ass dad lore of him living in Nigeria in the 90s, and a few of his friends were like even drug mules, and the most random casual Tuesday afternoon he was like, yeah, like one passed away, and like it was like really tragic and awful, and I was like, what? My next movie is called Days and Nights in the Forest. I watched this at where did I see this? Film Forum. This is a 1970s Indian film, but they speak Bengali in it, and it's about 4 middle-class men who are from Calcutta who take a trip to the forest. It's their days and nights, and they're in the forest. So in their heads, this excursion really serves as an escape from their urban routines and their social expectations. When they get there, they bribe a caretaker for the accommodation, even though, like, according to the guidelines of the forest and how they do things, it's strictly prohibited. And they know that the caretaker's job is on the line. They just, like, really don't give a fuck. They just throw money at any situation. And they begin drinking, they begin gambling, they're just chilling, wandering through the surrounding area. They soon encounter a family staying by. They initially notice 2 young, beautiful women. Shocker. They attempt to impress the women through like conversation and like their displays of like knowledge and sophistication. They get so excited and enticed by kind of like the sights of these women. Eventually they do leave the forest and return back to Calcutta. And this isn't what they wanted, but there's no kind of dramatic transformation. If anything, the women kind of break down their like constructed ass egos and their image. This was made in the 70s, but this film felt insanely modern. The characters saw the forest as the space of spiritual renewal, but it obviously wasn't what it was for them, which I think really resembles similar and contemporary stories of like young privileged adults on vacation. I realized that the reason why this film is so highly regarded is that it kind of critiques this like really bourgeois fantasy that nature functions as a gateway to this like oasis of renewal. Like I think the fantasy of going to upstate New York, going to Big Sur, getting out of the city in LA or New York and retreating to a cabin, this like digital detoxing that we're all familiar with. I feel like it often carries the belief that all your self needs is to just get away from all the noise. I think it often carries that belief that societal expectations and like your true self emerges once you get out of nature, and like all you need is just like get yourself geographically out of that spot in order to, I don't know, like reach enlightenment. I don't fucking know. But instead, there really is no like pure self hidden underneath all these structures, right? You're the same person, whether you're in the city, whether you're in the jungle, whether you're in the desert, whether you're in an oasis. So there's a scene in the film where all of the men and all the women come together and they're playing this memory game. It's basically the game where you go around saying one figure and then you kind of have to like remember what everyone else says while you add something of your own, and then the person who remembers the most wins. The memory game was just like a really fun scene to watch in the film. But it was so revealing because it transforms this seemingly very casual social activity. And first of all, these men are talking out of, like, you can tell immediately that these men are putting on such a, like, fake ass refined act. The characters take turns naming these famous figures, like writers, politicians, what have you, whatever. And they start with Indian figures like Gandhi and Rabindranath. They quickly start bringing up like, I don't know, figures like Helen of Troy and like Karl Marx. These men are upper middle class and their experience is shaped by colonial education. Their education becomes this form of social capital and they use it as a way to distinguish themselves from others and assert, this like cosmopolitan pseudo suave. And what I really liked about this scene was that the women really do undermine this performance. They don't give a fuck. They truly degaff, and they respond with this leveled wit and true detachment that makes the scene so much more compelling, but also very, very, very satisfying. Let's move on. I'm gonna say this is my favorite movie out of the. This is still my favorite movie that I've seen all Q1 and Q2. I loved Sarat so much. I saw it at BAM with my friend Delaney, and I loved it so much that I went and saw it again by myself. This movie is about a man named Luis who travels to Morocco with his young son in pursuit of his missing daughter, who disappeared after being involved with like the underground rave scene. The desert is full of these like very nomadic EDM communities. Before they can really spread the word, military does come in, and there is like this military unrest, and it forces the ravers to like really disperse throughout the desert. Luis and his son join a small group who are supposed to be traveling to the next rave. He's still in pursuit of his missing daughter, but the landscape grows more and more hostile. The desert is like no joke. It's intense. Kind of feel how dreadful it is just watching it on the screen. And then things happen. Things that I can't tell you. I will say by the end of the movie, survival becomes main priority. I loved this movie so much. First, I will say it has an insane soundtrack. Like the score for this film, it's very techno heavy, and rather than using it to produce this kind of exhilaration, which I will say you do feel, especially in the intro of the film, there's these very repetitive and bass heavy rhythms that generate genuine terror and dread and bodily tension. Felt like the score was almost used as a psychological tool to keep the viewer in this state of like low level alarm at all times, even during relatively quiet scenes. I will say this is employed a bit more towards the second part of the movie. I was watching like this, so well done. What is so effective about Sarat is that it really obliterates whatever narrative assumptions that you have, and that like protect the viewer, like protect you as a person watching a movie. First you think it's like a missing person mystery, right? It's not. Then it kind of becomes this like lazy, hazy travel moment. And then you think it's a survival film. You know, there's a lot of like apocalyptic elements that like kind of creep in out of nowhere, mind you. And I think because these genres keep shifting, you as the watcher like really lose confidence, and you don't genuinely, I did not know what was going to happen at any point in the movie. There's really nothing to expect. Great movie. I watched Fire of Love, which is also on Hulu a few months ago. This is a documentary all about a pair of married volcanologists named Katya and Maurice Kraft. I experienced a few technical difficulties. Ever since I seemingly did the right thing and updated my MacBook to the proper software. Mind you, I hadn't updated it in like 4 years. It's been tweaking out on me. I was also going to keep my purple tank top on for continuity, but I wore it out yesterday, like all day. Like I biked in it, and it smells like it smells like a dead animal. It smells like something died in that thing. So I can't put it back on my body until I wash it. Okay, let's go. I'm pretty sure we were talking about Fire of Love. The documentary is beautiful. It's almost entirely their own archival footage. It's on film. It's like the colors, I'm sure everything was retouched, but the colors are gorgeous. I think what's really beautiful about their relationship is that their dedication and commitment and fascination to volcanoes is so relevant, and it's obviously such a through line in their relationship and their marriage that you kind of can't tell whether or not they fell in love because they love volcanoes or because of volcanoes, they're in love. And I kind of think it's the second half. I think their professional relationship is so distinct from their romantic relationship that at sometimes I'm really not here like to debate on whether or not they like loved each other, but it feels like they are mere professional partners than like a husband and wife. Their marriage really seemed less kind of like intimate and romantic and more like this collaborative obsession because they were both genuinely obsessed with volcanoes. And it was fascinating. I think a lot of us have such a binary projection of what we think romantic partnership, especially marriage, is. And with them, it was obviously this super rich intellectual companionship and collaboration that lasted for the rest of their lives until they passed away from, mind you, a volcano. Like that's how they were not playing about that damn volcano. Like they were in, guys, they were at the scene. But I think also while I was watching it, I was like, how beautiful and profound and important it is to find your passion in that way and to really be obsessed with something and to study it and to put your life on the line because of it. I think that is something that is incredibly rare to find, and it's a blessing if you do. I think I said earlier that Maria Full of Grace was my most recent watch and favorite, but that's not true. It was actually Saving Face, directed by Alice Wu. It's about Will, who's a very successful Chinese American surgeon who kind of like reignites and reunites with Vivian, a professional dancer, and they begin dating in secret. They're both living in New York City. They have their separate lives, but Will really avoids introducing Vivian to her family because she fears rejection from her traditional Chinese American community that she's deeply involved in. But at the same time, Will's mother, grown as hell, mind you, finds out that she is pregnant, and because she's not married, she's like really quickly ostracized from the community. And because of that, she moves in with Will. So Will and her mother are now living under the same roof, but they both have these immense secrets. Obviously, this film's central insight is that Will and her mom are both grappling with secrets that conflict with cultural but also community expectations. Like, obviously, one is like queerness, so identity, and then the other one is pregnancy, like a bodily condition. Like, what would you technically call pregnancy? That's just not like body horror. I really liked how the secrets were made parallel, but it wasn't like tradition versus modernity, you know, because obviously queerness isn't just this like new modern thing. I also really liked how Saving Face made this like coming out plot less about spectacle and declaration and more about emotional vulnerability. You can tell in the film that Will is so tightly wound up, and not only is she exhausted trying to hide what is a very intimate but integral part of her identity, she's not vulnerable with Vivian and allowing what is this beautiful connection and relationship to grow and foster. Like, it's bad enough that she's physically hiding Vivian, which is fine because she's not necessarily out yet. She's not even emotionally available, and a lot of the time places work and her mom above what's supposed to be a budding romantic relationship. And I think it's a really good reminder that like a lot of the time queerness is central to things like intimacy and honesty and adulthood and vulnerability rather than like the big spectacle of like, hey, I'm this. Let's move on to television. You know, I don't watch a lot of TV, but this is what I watched and I had a great time. This is relatively new, but Bang My Box, the Robin Bird story, is on HBO and I really enjoyed watching it. It's about Robin Bird, who was host and creator of the Robin Bird Show back in the 80s and the 90s. The Robin Bird Show was a New York City late night public access television show. It was just really a great space for sex positive activism, sexuality, performance, politics, but also personal anecdotes and confession to exist on television. It featured adult entertainers, artists, performers, and everyday callers who would engage in very uncensored conversations about sex and identity. So the documentary follows Bird present day as she reflects on this legacy and this thing that she built, but she's also trying to archive all this footage. You can see it in the documentary, but like her apartment, wall to wall, every single tape, and she often calls it like hoarding. She's like, oh, like I'm a hoarder, but I'm like, baby girl, that's not hoarding. That is legacy. You can bet your bottom dollar that I'd be doing this. Like, are you dumb? But yeah, it just tells her story and her journey as this cultural figure who really was just a voice for free speech, for, you know, that wave of feminism that was going around during that. Which wave was that? Not, it was not third, second. But also LGBTQ visibility. She was such a voice for safe sex and protested multiple times and was like really there for the AIDS crisis. So her show was on this thing called Channel J, and it's unlike network television, but it was public access, so it allowed for anyone to be on TV. I think all you had to do was like pay 50 or like $100, and then that payment gave you kind of like these time blocks, and you could do or say whatever. There was no censorship. You didn't need mainstream approval, and you were just on TV. I thought that was so cool, and obviously that feels familiar to platforms that we have like YouTube, and it's kind of like live streaming where anyone just like has that platform. But obviously that was so before the internet was the internet, and it was really cool to see how Robin played around with that platform and chose to make it about what she wanted to make it about and like say what she wanted to say. She's awesome. She's lit. She's still living in New York. And I'm going to come out and say that I have this kind of like jaded, like pump fake, blase malaise when it comes to celebrities. And I would never ask anyone for their picture. Like, it's never that deep. But if I catch that lady, the world will know. And by the world, I mean Instagram stories immediately. Smiley Friends. I love Smiling Gang. Smiling Friends is so awesome. I wish there was like multiple seasons. I wish the episodes were longer. This is like a cartoon about a company where the main purpose is just like people call, they have a problem and they want to be happy and they want to smile. The two workers and kind of like the characters that the show surrounds are Charlie and Pim. People call this hotline and then they try their best to help them because it's their job. And the show is just awesome. It's so funny. It's so lighthearted. We're gonna move on to Play and Live. I didn't watch a lot, but what I did watch was really good. I saw Dad Don't Read This, which played at St. Luke's Theater and could not shut up. If you had 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, a mouth, I was talking to you about this play. This is a play by Elias Smith. It's coming of age, and it centers 4 teenage girls who gather for weekly sleepovers in suburban Ohio. I think it's placed in like suburban Ohio 2014. And they spend a lot of time in this one character Mal's bedroom. They gossip, they drink alcohol, they talk about relationships and sex, but primarily they play Sims on Mal's laptop. Now, I've never played Sims. Sims, like, it wasn't something that I played growing up. I'm not familiar with Sims at all, but it's kind of like a central theme to the play. And then through the show, the girls are quietly navigating things like identity, loneliness, family conflict, and the uncertainty of being a teenage girl. Now, I don't care for the girlhood trope. I think it's done. I think it's ran through. I think it is so tired and boring, and I don't really care about it. But this was done phenomenally well. I love the show. There really is no traditional, it's not like traditionally plot driven. There's no like beginning, middle, and end. Rather, it kind of focuses on the emotional landscape of these 4 friends, major things that happen amongst them, amongst their family, amongst in school. And I think ultimately it just kind of highlights that period of transition really well. When you're a teenager, you want so desperately for the world to know who you are, but you also don't really know who you are, but then you also really want to hide from the word because you don't know yet who you are. I don't find a lot of things funny, but it was genuinely so funny. It was cast impeccably. The 4 characters really bring the show to life. I had a great time. It was worth trekking all the way to like Times Square on a weekday afternoon. Earlier this winter, there was a dance show called Age of Content at BAM, and it's like a high velocity piece. It's from the multidisciplinary collective Lahore and then the Marseille Ballet. It's a lot about the digital age, viral internet culture, and like dances, and kind of like this one singular breathing body. The dancers were so talented. I don't really know how to describe it. Everything was so fragmented, and then at certain times it would come together. The music was also so good. It was so captivating. I don't know, it was such a great time, and it reminded me how fun like dance is to watch. It was so fun. I have 3 books that made my favorites so far. I just finished Big Swiss by Jen Began. I am on my last story for My Life in Heavy Metal by Steve Almond, and then I reread All the Lovers in the Night by Miko Kawakami earlier this winter. I am scripting a recent reads video as we speak, okay? So for that reason, this video is already going to be so long, I cannot talk about these books. I think my favorite out of the 3 was Big Swiss. Big Sis was so entertaining, but also just like really written so well, like written really well. Freaky relationship between two women, like I'm gonna eat that up every single time. I'm gonna eat it up every single time. Let's move on to things that I watched on YouTube and how they stuck with me. So I've been thinking a lot about my phone addiction because I am addicted to my phone, and it's not even something that I was able to say out loud or admit to myself recently. I have a friend named Amalia who would bring it up like really flippantly, and she would kind of like ruefully play it off and be like, "Oh, my phone addiction, ha ha ha." But it wasn't until she kind of like kept on saying it, she'd be like, "Oh, like I need phone time because I'm addicted to my phone," or she'd be like, "Oh, like I was on my phone and I didn't read because I'm addicted to my phone." And it wasn't until she kind of kept on saying it. And like it was funny and it's lighthearted, but I was like, damn, like I'm addicted to my phone. She was telling me a story about how her and her friend went to the park, and ultimately like they came back to her place hours later, and then her friend realized that like she had forgotten her phone at the park, and it's because she like set it down and was actually talking and engaging and like wasn't checking for her phone like every 20 minutes. And I realized, damn, I cannot do that. That can never be my truth. That can never be my tea ever. Because genuinely, at all times, I have to know where my phone is. It has to be in my pocket. I have to be aware of my phone. And there are no other words that you can use to describe that other than addiction. Point blank, period. Up until like a few days ago when my friend told me that story, I was under the assumption that like every single person under the age of 35 was addicted to her phone. And it was so insane to hear about a 25-year-old, mind you, that like isn't big on her phone. She doesn't even have Instagram. I think it's something that we're all aware of, and I see more and more people mentioning it. I saw a tweet that said pretty soon we're going to need rehab centers for phones. I work in the service industry, and the amount of people that cannot get off their phone to even like make eye contact with me and order their coffee for like 120 seconds. Phones are fucking shit up, dude. It's fucking up like etiquette. It's it's not good, guys. It's not good. Last year I wrote this thing on Substack, like God exists in a YouTube comment or something, and basically in a nutshell, what I was saying, I didn't say it that well. Spectacle of digital life kind of trains us to consume these really, really aggressive representations of life. And instead of inhabiting like direct and intentional experiences, we're just consuming those representations. I think we're becoming really used to this constant optimization and this stimulation and this engagement, to the point where even these attempts to slow down, like watching a movie. Think about the last time you watched a movie without checking your phone all the way through. Things like going on a walk without your phone, things like ditching, your Apple subscription or going analog or getting an iPod. They are seen as these like acts of resistance now. Okay, hold that thought with what I said. Earlier this year, I was recommended this interview with David Foster Wallace, and for some reason, I clicked it. I really don't know who that guy is. Rip to him. The only thing I know about David Foster Wallace was that he wrote Infinite Jest. And Infinite Jest is the reason why I have this laptop that you're watching on right now. My brother and I made a bet. I was like, there's no fucking way you're going to read that book. And he was like, watch me read it. And then he did not read it. He didn't even read like 30 pages. He was like, I didn't want to read the book. And I was like, I told you didn't want to read the book. No one wants to read that book. I watched the interview. There's a segment that really stuck out to me. In this segment, he talked about people that like face this physical dread when they have to sit in silence or have sustained attention. In the video, the example that he gave was like reading, like people cannot read and sit with themselves and like take in the book, but also just like be in that quiet. And he talked about the culture that was back then, and that was 20 years ago, that it like constantly feeds the part of us that wants novelty and gratification, but it starves the part of us that really, really needs that quiet, which in turn makes activities like reading, sitting alone with ourselves, even like contemplating, like heady or difficult art, it makes that increasingly difficult. I was fascinated by what he was saying because one, that was 20 years ago, and two, if he had been alive, you want to talk about a culture. He was talking about how you walk into like a store or like a coffee shop and it's not quiet. There's music. That was before social media and the internet blew up to be this thing that it is now, especially not now that we have with artificial intelligence. People are marrying their cell phones. And not only was he so ahead of his time, but I was like, oh, like we are fucked. we're fact, yeah, we're fact. So I obviously saw a lot of similarities with what had kind of been in my ether for so long, and with what he was saying. I was saying that this really aggressive algorithmic media is colonizing our experience of the world, and it's replacing intentional encounters with these curated and often like monetized ones. And what he was saying is that this colonization is kind of like changing our inner fabric. Like it feels really almost like genotypical, like it's changing our biology, because it's leaving these like really lasting, hopefully not irreparable effects and damage, where it's like we're unable to tolerate this silence and this concentration that will even allow these authentic and intentional encounters to happen. It was really spooky because it's like I am always on my phone. I am always on my phone. And even when I'm not, there's something playing in the background. I need music to wash my dishes. I need a podcast for my laundry. And I think about it and kind of just like, how did I get here? I think it's really easy to write off this constant stimulation as a necessity for an overactive brain, or maybe some of us have ADHD, or it calms us down. But the fact of the matter is, it cannot be healthy or conducive to cognitive or creative processes. I think about like even sometimes like sitting down to read, I have such trouble reading, and it's because I just fed my brain a bunch of like bullshit for 20 minutes. How on earth am I supposed to like sit down like with a piece and with a book if my shit is constantly bombarded? And I've been making these really concerted efforts to unplug. I don't think a digital detox or going analog is really the solution to any of this, especially when it's so easy to jump right back into these familiar patterns. And also, it's like chemical. What these phones give us is dopamine and a very feel good, feeling chemical. But what I've been trying to do is take more time on public transit, walking to my destination, just overall commuting without music and without my phone. It's hard for me because I like to maladaptive daydream and listen to music, but also I think the constant stimulation and relying on it, it's just a blanket, right? Like really like what it is just like everyone is just in pursuit of this distraction and this comfort. But I think New York City has such a rich soundscape. And even if you aren't living in a city, it's nice to hear yourself and your thoughts. And to kind of like a few weeks ago, I was in Gowanus, was at this like bike flea market. And then I walked to get a slice of pizza without any music. And then I walked to my friend's place without any music. And it was so bizarre. It was great to hear kids and like babies and construction and the world around me, but it was uncomfortable. And I hate that it was uncomfortable. I fucking hate that I was uncomfortable. Why would I be uncomfortable? So a few weeks ago on my homepage, I was recommended this video, What If the Self Isn't Something to Find? It's like a collaboration with a Harvard professor and then like Simi Hayes, like that model Simi Hayes. And I was so confused. I was like, did she collab with Harvard? I was like, is this like a sponsor? Like I was so confused. I didn't know what it was. So obviously I was compelled to click. I watched the entire thing multiple times. It's actually a very compelling and fascinating conversation. So ultimately, what the professor is saying is that a lot of modern Western teachings of the self are accepting what is really just bad habits and patterns, and that the pursuit of this self, like finding yourself, is a really dangerous endeavor. I don't know if I believe that one completely. I don't know how I feel about that theory. However, he studies and teaches Chinese philosophy, and a lot of Chinese philosophy teaches otherwise, that like relationships and human connection are really on the forefront, and that the self, like maybe like the self just like really isn't the self. Like what is the self? I saw a lot of similarities through what I wrote on Substack, and then the David Foster Wallace interview, and then this video. And I feel like the common thread is that when we lose the ability to sit quietly with ourselves and with others, we mistake our conditioned habits for our authentic selves. And I found both videos at such different times, but I think they overlap really beautifully. So like what Wallace was suggesting is that you have to read difficult books, listen to music, sit in silence. What I was talking about in my Substack was like making art for no one to see, walking home, commuting like without your phone, letting your phone die. Like Tony Bravo has this thing on Substack about like intentionally letting your phone die. And in the Harvard video, the professor was basically calling these things rituals. He called them rituals.
Sticking with that earlier example, if I'm walking to school to teach in the morning, I'm training myself to actively begin to see the world. When I'm interacting with people, I'm trying to train myself to actively do so. I think prayer is a wonderful example where you're developing, as you said, the disposition of gratitude, which is something we would like to say we feel all the time, but we really don't. And you're actively cultivating that. And once you're cultivating through ritual these dispositions, these sensibilities for the world, those around one, then it just becomes slowly a part of your everyday existence.
And the reason why I had to watch the Harvard video multiple times is that I had to like kind of decentralize and redefine a lot of these terms in my own head. I feel like I have a really like Western like productivity pilled conception of what a ritual is. And it's this really arbitrary rule that you have to find to engage in this holistic idea of mindfulness. But what makes the professor's perspective really compelling is that he was really reframing attention, like, because what this all is about like attention and attention span, and what our attention spans do for us. He framed it as this like really moral and relational practice, because when we repeatedly engage in these rituals, these activities that demand presence and patience and attentiveness, we loosen the grip of our default habits and really retrain our attention span, which is a very important thing to have. And I think even thinking about attention, it's not about this thing that like helps you feel calmer or helps you be productive. I think I can be so like grind pill that I can only think about what attention can do for me and how it can serve me in really secular ways. But it was really refreshing and challenging to see attention framed as like the quality of your attention determines the quality of person that you become. And then in turn, like the quality of the world that you build with other people, like being able to talk to your barista and like make eye contact with them for like 2 minutes. And mind you, I don't even like really like, I don't even like, I'm not one of those people that's like, no one wants to talk these days. Like I don't, but just like it's also rude. Sometimes I will check someone out, a whole transaction will go about, and you never even looked me in the face. Like that's nuts. That's nuts. I'm still figuring out what those rituals mean to me, and all in all, this kind of like journey that this has been on my head for like the past like 6 or 7 months, nonstop. I'm trying to fight off the urge to call it self-help or like self-improvement, and more so just self-development. Okay, geez, let's talk about something a little bit more lighthearted. Let's talk about products and makeup and stuff. I talked about ugliest girl in the world attacks in my what's in my bag video, and sunglasses are a very important thing for when those happen to me. I really like Bonnie Clyde sunglasses. They're really so cute and they're made and done really well. I like the baby and the Sudoku frames. I feel like those really work for my rounder face shape, and they've been such a staple, more so for the warmer months. This isn't like obviously part of my earlier favorites, but the glasses are so good. I think I'm going to genuinely become like one of those bitches that wear sunglasses in the winter. Like I outed myself as kind of a fraud, and if any of my friends or anyone from my personal life is watching this, you know that this is more so the bag that I wear on an everyday basis. This is a crossbody from Alchemy Goods, and it's made entirely from bike tubes, and like the strap is a seatbelt, and it's so awesome. I wear this one and then my AMA bag. This one is a little bit more casual though, and since the strap is adjustable, I do reach for it more. But I got this on eBay for about $60. It fits everything. It fits my laptop. I love this bag to an insane degree, and if you see me in public, there is a high probability that I'll be wearing this bag. I love this bag so much, and I get a lot of compliments on it. Men really like this bag. I'm like, you can get it too, girl. It could be yours too. These plastic on hemp clogs have been my shoe staple for like honestly a while now. Like, I would say like over a year. There's just something about them. I really like the shape. Now, unfortunately, every bitch in Brooklyn has this shoe, but I really like it. I think you can like dress them up, you can dress them down. I think I just love a clog because it kind of feels like a sneaker flat hybrid. I don't love a backless clog. I don't like a mule. I just like a clog, and I really do love the shape. I don't love the color as much, even though it is quite neutral, but I love a clog, and I'm on the hunt for the perfect black clog. Like, I think that's gonna be my like winter fashion project. The perfect black clog. These Mary Janes from Merrill are actually my friends, and every single time I come over, I like mean to give them back to her. But I've really been liking them. They're like this really gorgeous suede, and they don't look like much, but they're very, very, very cute on. I've been wearing them a lot this summer. I am one of those people who is in perpetual paranoia that their house has a smell. And every house has a smell, obviously, but I'm in perpetual paranoia that my house smells bad. Now over in Casa del Jess and MG, we clean meticulously, but a lot of our furniture is like secondhand, and it's just like you want your house to smell like you want your house to smell good. So I've really been liking hypochlorous acid spray for the home. I used to get mine from Dollar Tree. I cannot find them in. I went to three separate Dollar Trees. Mind you, in New York, not an easy thing to do. None of them have it. I'm really scared that they don't have it anymore, and I'm gonna have to buy like a big ass expensive ass thing from Amazon. Simply, all I want is a deodorizer. I don't want it to smell like anything. I don't want what's that thing called, like Febreze. I don't want to smell. I just want my house to smell like nothing. A candle every now and then, sure. My roommate says it makes the house smell like a pool, but I really truly smell nothing. I don't smell anything. Merit sent me their minimalist stick a while ago, and I have been eating it up. I am a stick lover now. I love sticks, and I love the hand freeness of it all. I just had it. Where is it? My shade and undertone is in cacao, and you can tell like that's all that's left. I love the formula. It's creamy, but it's not like dewy. It goes on really easily. And it makes my already minimal makeup routine even simpler. I'm finding ways to make this shit even more lazy girl friendly. I have quite a few perfume favorites, but I'm gonna talk about one that has really impressed me and I've been using the entire year. This is since I got it. This is Cloud Reverie by Future Society. This is oh my, how the hell like do you make a smell? How do you make something smell like this? This genuinely smells like you're inside a cloud. It's light, it's misty, it's a little bit sweet, a little bit sweet. It's aldehyde, it's perfection. This is my nighttime scent. And unfortunately, when I do things like this, I kind of like Pavlov myself into only being able to use it at night. And because I associate it with night and like nighttime and sleeping, but this puts me in such a restful and serene headspace. And I'm genuinely ready to go to sleep. Like, baby, I'm Thumbelina and I'm in a cloud. Like, oh my God, I spray it on myself. I spray it on my sheets. I spray it in my room. Perfection. 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 I talked about how Once Upon a Coca. Oh my God, wait. It is such a treat when I have this freaking thing. I just recently tried pineapple, which is great. Just tastes like a pina colada. And then their chocolate. Holy cow. I used to be a coconut water hater as it feels my job. I was literally clocking in. I was, in fact, one of the people that said it was something that tasted like it had been in someone else's mouth. Now, I do think that for like lower quality coconut water. And it's like, do you hear me? Like, now you're a coconut water snob? Really, bitch? Like, who do you think you were? Like, now, unfortunately, this is quite expensive. But I only buy this like maybe once every like 2 weeks, and it makes it such a treat. A chilled one. Oh my God. Also, I want to freeze this and make it like a slushy with like lavender and matcha. I was not a big soda drinker growing up. Now, I got Taco Bell a few days ago and I got a large bottle blast and I couldn't finish it. So I did save it. And then I met up with my friend last night, and she was like, I have something for you. And I was like, what is that? And she brought this out. Don't get me wrong, I love soda. I had such a sweet tooth growing up. I still have a sweet tooth. I love sweets. I love candy. I love sweets. But my parents didn't grow up buying soda. My mom was entrapped in diet culture, and then my dad is a diabetic. So when there was soda, like there was soda, but it's like, do you want this Sprite Zero? Do you want this Dr. Pepper Zero? No. No, I don't. I do not. I don't want this Diet Coke. I'm 12 years old and I want a full fat Coke. So soda is still a treat to me, and I don't have it that often, but Ollipops are good. Like they're good. Like it's really fun to have something that feels like a soda. And unfortunately, it is like skinny. It's like what, 0 calories? Like it's really skinny. But they put some fake ass boo boo fiber in there, and it feels like the healthier alternative. Like sorry, like it does feel like it. And then some random favorites that I have, I used to really hate even the thought of lavender in coffee and dessert. I was like, keep lavender in the garden. Like lavender does not need to be where the people eat. I have my words. It's refreshing and it's yum. And a latte with, this is what I've been doing lately. I do an iced cortado with oat milk, and then I do 2 pumps of vanilla, or like a pump and a half, and then I do a pump of lavender because it's so strong. Oh, so good. So good. And I'm also reformed. Oh, so many changes are happening. I'm literally going through changes. I used to hate coconut water, lavender, fruit in my salad. Like, do you remember that like Wendy's salad growing up that had like apples in it? Now, mind you, I don't know if I can like take a big chunk of an apple in my salad. I probably can. That's probably delicious. But at my job, we have a salad that has like really thinly sliced pears, and I had a dinner party at my house a few weeks ago, and then what did I put in the salad? I put really thinly sliced pears with arugula and fennel, and it was we've done it. I don't know how we did it, but we've done it. Those are my Q1 and Q2 favorites. I really want to go back to doing monthly favorites. I know you guys really like favorites, but I do say sometimes it feels like I don't like consume enough to accumulate monthly. So I don't know if I want to do it by quarter or do it by month. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you're still here, I'd love to know some of your favorites in the comments below. Oh, also, I doubt anyone's watching still, but if you want to see like video request ideas, please, ideas, because I don't know what to film. Ideas, please, in the comments, please, ideas. Okay, get out now.